spoken. Statements by members. Déclaration de députés. L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Verchères. Mr. Speaker, 5 years after the death of 47 persons at Lac Mégantic, rail transport is not any safer. Since the Conservatives were in power, and given Liberal complacency today, Ottawa is letting transport companies self-regulate. It's not governments who decide, it's the companies. They are choosing what they wish to inspect. They decide what goes through towns. They set the maximum speed limit and weight of transport. As a result, since the accident at Lac Mégantic, there have been more accidents, so it's the fault of Ottawa, which has abandoned its responsibilities. That's why the Bloc Québécois is calling for a commission of inquiry on the serious shortfalls in transportation regulations.
Monsieur le Président, j'ai l'honneur.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to rise today to pay tribute to the men and women who, through their bravery, protect our country. Members of our Canadian Armed Forces risk their lives to save those of others, and they do not shy away from sacrifice in the name of protecting world security.
To spend 5 days traveling from St. John's to Iqaluit aboard the HMCS Charlottetown as part of the Parliamentary Canadian Leaders at Sea program. Amidst waters rough and still, I experienced demonstrations and training exercises alongside Canada's amazingly brave, competent, and dedicated soldiers. These experiences, these moments, made me realize just the level of commitment, effort, and tenacity it takes to serve in our Royal Canadian Navy. I salute all the members of our Canadian Armed Forces, thanking them for all that they do for our home and native land. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Honourable member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to recognize the life of Edgar Corbière, who passed away in April. He turned his family's personal struggle into an enduring legacy of compassion and support for others. This summer marked the 20th annual Hang in the 30s, which has supported more than 5,000 people in the Lakeland region in their fight against cancer. A core board and group of 300 volunteers work all year round to put on a free 2-day reenactment of rural life and hay harvesting in the 1930s. Thousands of Albertans make it their annual family trip. Every penny donated there and by others is given to cancer patients and their families for medical bills, travel and parking costs and other expenses not covered by insurance. Hang in the 30s currently supports 40 people a month. Thank you, Edgar, for your labor of love and selflessness. I'm so proud to represent families like yours and communities like Mallaig, who reflect the very best of what it is to be Canadian.
The honourable member for Cloverdale-Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, looking back on summer, it's clear that our government is delivering for the people of Cloverdale-Langley City. We're investing in families. The enhanced tax-free Canada Child Benefit means more money for over 12,000 families in my communities, making things like school supplies and sports more affordable for kids. We're investing in transit. $3 billion in federal and provincial funding will shorten commute times for people in my communities and ensure residents get to spend more time at home and not stuck in traffic. We're tackling gun and gang violence, which continues to affect my region. The Prime Minister, the Minister for Border Security and Organized Crime, the Minister of Defence all visited my riding recently to discuss how we tackle this persistent issue and make our communities safer for everyone. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of the work that we do for the people of Cloverdale-Langley City as part of a government delivering on its commitments to Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, today, World Contraception Day falls in the middle of Gender Equality Week. Sadly, in Canada, we have neither equal access to birth control nor gender equality. For example, birth control, like the Nouveau Ring, is available on public formularies in Quebec, Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, and the Yukon, but not in BC, Alberta, Manitoba, or Ontario. Only Alberta covers emergency contraceptives, and only Quebec covers the contraceptive patch. Canada has an obligation to ensure everyone across the country has access to the highest quality of medication. But obviously, this does not include many women, trans, or non-binary persons in need of contraceptive care. The Liberals are known for running with New Democrat policies in order to get elected, never keeping their promises. This Prime Minister could make the first concrete step and implement his promise of national pharmacare by beginning with free birth control as proposed by my motion 65. He could take this.
L'honorable député de Bourassa.
The honourable member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, I rise to recognize the success of the Canadian junior football team at the championship, which was held in Mexico. To complete the roster, team leaders recruited 2 young men who went to Henri Bourassa High School, which is in my riding of Bourassa, and in fact, I attended that very same high school. Kevin Sklercius and Freud Caesar took part in the tryouts, and a couple of weeks before the championship, they were referred to the supervisor and put on the Canadian team, and they came back with gold. So congratulations to the Canadian team, and I salute the achievements of these 2 young men who brought glory to their former high school, to their coach, and to North End, Montreal. Way to go.
Honourable member for Flamborough-Glanbrook.
Mr. Speaker, autumn has arrived, and in many rural areas of the country, particularly in Ontario, that means it's fair season. These fairs are an opportunity for people from the city, towns and country to celebrate fall together, mindful of the incredible work that our farming communities do to provide a safe, reliable and abundant food supply. Mr. Speaker, a community celebration of a bountiful harvest was the original intent of fall fairs. However, over the 160-plus years in many Southern Ontario communities, they've grown to be much more. In my constituency of Flamborough-Glanbrook, we've already had 2 fall fairs that I've had the pleasure of attending, Bimbrook and Ancaster, and the World's Fair in Rockton is about to come Thanksgiving weekend. All these fairs are organized by the local agricultural societies. It takes thousands of hours of volunteer effort and fundraising throughout the year and an incredible amount of organization. Thank you to all of those who are so selfless and volunteering for the sake of their community's betterment. See you at the fair, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. The honourable member for Beaches East York.
Mr. Speaker, there are words to describe the shooting on the Danforth, but those words cannot adequately convey the deep sense of loss felt by those affected. Reese Fallon was an active member of the Beaches East York Young Liberals. She came with us to the Halifax Policy Convention, which she was so excited for, and she helped us to make a positive impact every step of the way. Reese was smart, caring, funny, passionate. Her parents called her sassy. She was out to make the world a better place. Her friends certainly looked up to her, and few people at any age so fully grasped that important sense of public service, be it through her political activism or her dedication to nursing. Reese will be sorely missed by so many. To Doug, Claudine, Riley, Quinn, and to all of Reese's family and friends, our city, our community, our country, all mourn with you and will continue to be here for you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Laval-les-Îles.
The honourable member for Laval-les-Îles. Mr. Speaker, as with you, I was shocked last Friday by the horrific tornado which struck Gatineau and Ottawa. The tornado damaged thousands of buildings and left hundreds of victims behind. Today, no single community anywhere can escape extreme weather events, which are due, there's no doubt about it anymore, to planet-wide climate change. The number of victims and the scope of damage have given way, after general consternation, to feelings of compassion and pulling together. So to the victims, please know that Canadians stand with you during this difficult time. In our words and in our actions, we are moved and we are with you. We share your pain and will do what it takes to make sure that any aid will restore your dignity and your pride in being Canadian. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Culloden.
Mr. Speaker, 3 cultural organizations in my riding are each celebrating 25 years next month. Theatre Orangeville is one of Ontario's best local theatre companies. Under Artistic Director David Nairn, its commitment to the community is legendary, offering diverse productions and programs for those with developmental disabilities through their partnership with Community Living Dufferin. The Museum of Dufferin also has just had a grand reopening after significant renovations. Showcasing the history of Dufferin County's pioneers, the Museum of Dufferin is also dedicated to connecting with our youth to make history a living part of the community. In the Hills magazine highlights country living in the Headwaters region. This independent, locally owned publication focuses on telling stories about our region's cultural highlights, making it a must-read for locals and visitors alike. To honor their 25th, Theatre Orangeville, In the Hills, and Museum of Dufferin are recognizing 25 amazing Headwaters youth under age 25 who will be our future.
The honourable member for Brampton North.
3 weeks ago, I joined Interim Place for their annual Steps to End Violence Against Women walk. With each step, I thought about the countless victims killed by their male partners across Canada. I thought about the 5 women in Peel Region who lost their lives just this year, including my residents Baljeet Tandi and Avtar Kaur. My community refuses to stand idly by and see another name added to this ever-growing list. We must commit to provide support and protection to these women who so desperately need it. Brampton urgently needs improvements to capacity at our shelters so that women and their children affected by violence can have a reliable and secure place to go. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Temple Grandin, an individual with autism and an advocate for those on the spectrum, once said, "I am different, not less." Mr. Speaker, I rise today to acknowledge 2 remarkable women in my riding of Vaughan Woodbridge, Ellen Contardi and Lorelena Presuto, who desire to make a difference for children with autism and their families. Like Temple Grandin, they believed that there needs to be a lot more emphasis on what these children can do instead of what they cannot do. In just 3 short years, Waves of Changes for Autism has raised community awareness and provided much-needed financial resources to families. Monsieur le Président, demain soir.
Mr. Speaker, tomorrow evening I will join over 1,000 guests at the 3rd annual Waves of Changes Gala, but today, coincidentally, during Gender Equality Week, please join me in thanking Ellen and Loredana for their vision to ensure that children with autism spectrum disorder may reach their full potential. Thank you.
Honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, the Malayali people of Kerala have demonstrated their resilience and fortitude once again in the face of devastating floods and landslides. Since the outset of the monsoon season in June, more than 200 people have lost their lives as rescuers battle overwhelming floodwaters to prevent further loss of life. Thousands are still living in relief camps across the region after being displaced from their homes and losing everything they own. The people of Kerala need our help. The Conservative Party is committed to working with 150,000 Malayali Canadians who have made Canada their new home and have come together to raise funds to support flood relief efforts. Our leader demonstrated this commitment when he attended the Nehru Trophy Boat Race fundraiser this past summer to provide relief through medicine and food supplies for the most vulnerable victims of the crisis. Conservatives will always stand with communities around the world who are devastated by natural disasters, and we remain committed to rising to the occasion where relief and support is required. That, Mr. Speaker, is the Canadian way.
Honourable member for Etobicoke Lakeshore.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to again recognize the important relationship between Ireland and Canada. Over the last 2 years, this valuable connection has been celebrated and nurtured by our political leaders, including prime ministers, ministers, MPs, and TDs. Canada and Ireland enjoy strong commercial relations. In 2016 alone, there was over $2.4 billion in two-way trade. While we continue to build strong economic ties, we also honour our distinguished Irish heritage. This past June, with the incredible support of the Embassy of Ireland, we held the first ever Canada-Ireland Night on the Hill. We brought together Canadians from across the country of Irish descent, business and cultural leaders to celebrate our special bond. It was a phenomenal evening, Mr. Speaker. This week, we welcome another group of TDs to Ottawa, including the chair of the Ireland-Canada Interparliamentary Friendship Group. As they meet with MPs to discuss trade opportunities and other ways to enhance our friendship, I would like to say a warm Fálcha to Canada.
Honourable member for Nisnippi, Churchill River.
Speaker, many teachers and support staff at schools across Canada returned to work this past month looking to inspire and educate future generations of Canadians. In northern Saskatchewan, though, many schools are struggling with day-to-day operations as there is a significant staff shortage. In Sandy Bay, Saskatchewan, Principal Randy Mallory has stretched his staff to their limit as some teachers are doing double their workload and resource staff are now teaching classes instead of focusing on individual students who need help. Not only does morale suffer when teachers are overworked, but students and communities suffer too. It's our responsibility as elected officials to support future generations, but governments are choosing not to invest in education and choosing not to invest in youth in the North. On behalf of my constituents, I call on all governments to invest in northern education programs and northern youth. Thank you.
Honourable member for Niagara Falls.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my privilege to rise in this House today as the newly appointed Shadow Minister for Public Services and Procurement. As such, it provides me the opportunity to address some of the serious procurement issues that are currently facing the amazing men and women of our armed forces. For example, the Liberals are replacing our 40-year-old fighter jets with 40-year-old ones from Australia. It brings back memories of the leaky subs they bought from Britain. They've also insulted our forces by asking them to return their smelly old sleeping bags so they can be redistributed to new recruits in an effort to compensate for their custom military spending. Spending millions on Fleet of Lemons is an extension of the summer of failures by the Liberals. We simply can't trust them to do the right thing and equip our troops with the necessary resources. So, Mr. Speaker, I call upon the Liberals to show a little respect for the members of our Canadian Armed Forces, beginning with the purchase of new sleeping bags. How about that for a start?
Honourable member for Northwest Territories.
Mr. Speaker, this Sunday, September 30th, we mark the annual commemoration of Orange Shirt Day. Started in 2013, participants wear orange to commemorate survivors and raise awareness of the tragic legacy of Indian residential schools. This day was inspired by the story of a 6-year-old girl named Phyllis Webstad, whose grandmother gave her a brand new orange shirt to proudly wear for her first day at the residential school in 1973. Phyllis's shirt was taken away on that day in an attempt to break the links to her identity, her family, and her community. We share her story so that all Canadians can better understand the legacy of residential schools. This Sunday, I encourage everyone to wear orange and come together to remember residential school survivors and their families in the spirit of reconciliation. Masicho, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, on April 8th, Tory went to school, but he never got home and was raped and killed. And this person is being transferred to a healing lodge. Canadians were shocked to learn this news. I'd like to give the Prime Minister the chance to say that he's going to reverse this decision. Mr. Speaker, our hearts go out to the family, to Terry's family. The Minister has asked Corrections Canada to examine this decision to make sure it is adequate and in keeping with policy.
Canadians aren't looking for a review. They're looking for action. They want to see this government reverse this decision. Will the Prime Minister do what he has the power to do and reverse this decision?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our hearts go out to the family of Tory Stafford for the loss they endured and have lived with these past 9 years. The Minister has asked that the Commissioner of Correctional Services review such decisions to ensure they are done properly and in accordance with long-standing policy.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that's not what the minister said. The minister said that he trusted the officials to ensure that the killer's bad practices were addressed. These weren't bad practices. These were horrific crimes, and they deserve to be punished. The Prime Minister has the ability to reverse this decision. Will he do so?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as mentioned by the then Minister of Correctional Services and Public Safety, the member from Lévis, pointed out, I, the Minister, do not control the security classification of individual prisoners. That's what the Conservative Minister said in 2013. We continue to respect our justice system to take the right decisions in the right way. The Minister has asked to ensure that all the decisions were taken in accordance with our laws.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, when officials get it wrong, the government and the elected representatives have an obligation to make it right. The Prime Minister knows that the department reports to the government and that he has a variety of tools at his disposal. And he needs to tell Canadians right now whether or not he intends to use every tool at his disposal to reverse this decision.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the individual in question was classified as a medium security back in a number of years ago, continued to be classified in 2014 when she was transferred to this new facility as medium security. On this side of the House, we do not look to politicize tragedies like this. We expect people to do their jobs, and that's what we're ensuring happens.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
That's the whole point, Mr. Speaker. They're not doing their job. This is not a minimum security risk. This is a convicted killer who has been found guilty of the most horrific crimes, the types of things that all parents are so fearful of. And we, as elected representatives, and this Prime Minister has an obligation and a responsibility to make it right when officials get it wrong. He knows he has the power to do that. This person bragged about stomping on the face of a fellow inmate, bragging to her friends that she had committed hateful acts in prison. Will he do the right thing?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I will let Canadians make a determination of who is politicizing this situation. Mr. Speaker, the individual in question was transferred to a medium security facility in 2014. They are still in a medium security facility now.
Honourable député de Berthier-Masquinongé.
The honourable member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, gender-based discrimination still exists in the Indian Act. The Superior Court of Quebec ordered Canada to deal with any exclusions that were gender-based, but Bill S3 only removes some obstacles. There are still inequalities between men and women, even now. During this Gender Equality Week, can the Prime Minister say that he's going to eliminate inequalities in S3? The Right Honourable the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this week we're celebrating people's equality, gender equality. We know that much remains to be done. We're continuing to work in partnership with Indigenous peoples on reconciliation and on equality and putting an end to marginalization. We will continue to work with various approaches to deal with problems of inequality between men and women. We've taken great steps, but there remains a great deal to be done.
Dr. Lynn Gell is an outspoken advocate for removing sex-based discrimination in the Indian Act and was herself impacted by an unstated paternity policy that still remains today. Dr. Gell went to court to win her battle against the hierarchy that shouldn't even exist. Mr. Speaker, it is 2018. Courts ruled that the federal government needs to remove all discriminatory clauses in the Act. Charter rights must be respected. The Indian Act still discriminates against women. When will this Liberal government do something about it?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sex-based equity is a fundamental human right. The recent incorrect media reports containing inflated, unstated paternity numbers has now been corrected. Bill S3 eliminated all sex-based discrimination from the Indian Act registration provisions, including enshrining additional procedural protections for unstated paternity. Mr. Speaker, we recognize that there are a number of flaws within the Indian Act. That is why we've committed to work with Indigenous peoples across this country to move forward beyond the Indian Act. We look forward to that path towards reconciliation with them over the years and decades to come.
The Honourable Member for Churchill, Kiwetinoong-Askey.
Mr. Speaker, this summer I visited Red Sucker Lake, the home of the late Elijah Harper, an isolated community northeast of Winnipeg, where I met Rhonda. We talked about her two beautiful kids. We talked about being moms. But as I was leaving, she told me how happy she was it was summertime because she could stay in her house, a house that was covered partially by a tarp and without a bathroom, in Canada in 2018. So, Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister. Why is his government failing First Nations people like Rhonda and so many First Nations women across this country, failing to act on the housing crisis that exists in Canada today?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we recognize the need for all Canadians, particularly Indigenous Canadians, to have safe, affordable housing. The situation is one that we have moved forward to correcting. In our first years in government, we moved forward with $8.6 billion towards Indigenous communities, particularly housing, amongst other things. But we recognize there are still significant needs, which is why we've moved forward with a $40 billion national housing strategy that will have many different aspects and components. We will ensure that more Canadians have affordable and safe places to live.
L'honorable député d'Hochelaga.
The honourable member for Hochelaga. Mr. Speaker, Indigenous peoples living in isolated communities live in third world conditions. The story my colleague just related is simply shocking. The mother of two children who lives in a house without a roof and without a toilet. In 2018, this is unacceptable. The Liberals should, I'm sure the Liberals hear stories like this. When will they stop ignoring this housing crisis? Mr. Speaker, no government has taken so seriously its commitment towards reconciliation. We're working seriously, working together to open new schools, provide new housing. We know that there's still a great deal of work that remains to be done, but we're putting real investment Canada-wide to make major changes in various communities. We'll continue to work with Indigenous peoples to make sure that they have equality of opportunity and also safety and security for the families you talked about.
Was found guilty of first-degree murder and rape and torture of 8-year-old Tori Stafford. She was sentenced to life in prison. 8 years into her prison sentence, she's being moved to a healing facility. Mr. Speaker, this is a bad decision by officials. On any calculus, this is a bad decision. And when bad decisions were shown to us as a government, such as we intervened to stop rapist and murderer Paul Bernardo from receiving conjugal visits. We blocked child killer Clifford Olson from receiving pension benefits. Mr. Speaker, when confronted with bad decisions, a good government acts. Why is this Prime Minister not acting?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The previous government, in 2014, transferred this individual to a medium security facility. She is still in a medium security facility now. The level to which the member opposite is playing politics with a terrible tragedy is yet again an example of the depths to which the members opposite continue to stoop.
Order. Order. The honourable member for Milton.
Mr. Speaker, when the opposition or when the government applauds the way they do that incredibly despicable answer, what they're applauding is the victim not getting her justice. And today we speak here for Tori Stafford, and I'm going to tell you why. Mr. Speaker, Canadians understand.
I'm sorry. Order. We need to hear the question and, of course, the answer after that. But we'll need order. The honourable member for Milton.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, the difficulty with a government receiving a bad decision is that the decision has to be made then to act. We acted every single time we found out that a bad decision that infuriates Canadians was made. This is a terrible decision. It's despicable. Why is this government and this Prime Minister not acting?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I apologize for the noise from my backbench. The member opposite was part of a government that in 2014 transferred this individual to a medium security facility. That individual is still in a medium security facility. Mr. Speaker, these are the political games they are choosing to play.
The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabasca. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Public Safety described the crimes of Terry Lynn McClintock as bad practices. We're not talking about bad practices, we're talking about an odious crime. She was convicted of the abominable murder of a child of 8. And the Minister accepted that she be transferred to a healing lodge. This is absurd. Will the Prime Minister demand that she be returned to a maximum security institution? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Yet another question on the same issue, Mr. Speaker. The preceding government, the Conservative government in 2014, had this person transferred to a medium security prison, and this person remains in a medium security institution. The level of political games they're playing is truly upsetting, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member. Well, what's upsetting is that Canadians are waiting for an answer from this Prime Minister and not getting it. We're talking about the kidnapping and rape of a little girl of 8. And what we hear from the Prime Minister is that he's asking that the decision be reviewed. A bad decision was made and the Prime Minister has the power to change it. What is he waiting for to change this decision, to reverse it and have this person put in a maximum security prison? The Right Honourable, the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we live with the rule of law, and we don't make decisions as politicians which would not be in respect of the rule of law and the way things work. In 2014, this individual was transferred to a medium security prison and is remaining in an institution which has the same classification.
For the record, that the only political games being played in this House today are the word games being conducted by the Prime Minister of Canada on this very important issue. Mr. Speaker, Terry Lynn McClintock helped lure Tory, hit Tory 3 times in the head with a claw hammer. She was a lookout while Tory was raped and then helped place Tory's body in a garbage bag. The Prime Minister knows full well that he has the power and authority to change this case in an instant. Why will he not use his power and authority right now to do the right thing for Tory's family and the right thing for society?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I hope Canadians pay attention to that question and this answer. In 2014, the individual was transferred to a medium security facility under the previous government. This individual is still in a medium security facility today. That question needs to be noticed by Canadians, and that behaviour needs to be noticed by Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, this facility doesn't even have a fence, but it does have cooking classes, Mr. Speaker. The fact of the matter is that the Minister of Public Safety characterized the killer's conduct as, quote, bad practices. When is the Prime Minister going to do the right thing, admonish his minister, and do the right thing for people who care about justice in our society and make sure that this killer is put right back behind bars.
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, one of the things we see in politics these days is a level of polarization, as a level of populism that is creeping into our discourse. On this side of the House, we choose to anchor our decisions in fact, in the rule of law, and in due process. This is what we will continue to do. Mr. Speaker, the individual was transferred under the previous government to a medium security facility. She is still in a medium security facility.
The honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives' exploitation of this little girl's death is sickening.
The honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith has the floor. Order.
Gender Equality Week is meant to celebrate the work of feminist organizations, but many of them are struggling with lack of funding and have closed their doors because they cannot help the women in need. They unquestionably improve the lives of women, but they are the most underfunded in Canada's nonprofit sector. They need reliable, long-term, stable operational funding. So when will the Prime Minister walk his talk and dedicate the much-needed core funding feminist organizations need to do their work?
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member opposite for her question and agree with her that women's organizations across this country do extraordinary work, important work that are good for our society, but also good for economic growth and everyone's opportunities. That's why we recognized and we're moving forward with $100 million in sustainable funding for community organizations. There is always more need, but we are happy to be supporting to a greater degree the great work being done right across the country. And I very much thank the member opposite for her question.
The honourable member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. Mr. Speaker, half the women in this country will be victims of physical or sexual violence during their lives. Whether it's at home, on a campus, or at work, women have to live with the spectre of harassment and violence. Numerous organizations and unions, such as the Canada Labour Congress, are calling for a plan and immediate action, awareness raising and better funding. Instead of initiating never-ending consultations, will the Prime Minister finally act so that violence against women ends? The Right Honourable the Prime Minister. We are acting. We're investing $100 million for organizations that help women, and we know we need to do more. We know that the Me Too culture has to continue. We have to put an end to harassment and bullying. We have to do our part to change society for the better, and this is something we are doing.
At around 3:30 p.m. on Wednesday, April the 8th, 2009, Tori Stafford left her school to go home. She never arrived there. When Tori's body was found, it was naked from the waist down. The autopsy revealed that she had suffered beatings that caused lacerations to her liver, broken ribs, and her death was as a result of repeated blows to her head with a claw hammer. Her killer, Terry Lynn McClintock, has been moved to a healing lodge. The Prime Minister has the power to reverse this decision today. Will he stand with the family and ensure that this child murderer stays behind bars?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is the 12th consecutive question from the Conservatives on this issue, and that is their choice. But I would ask them, please, do not continue to increase the level of graphic detail read into the official record here. This is not something we want to politicize this way. This is not the way this House should be engaging. I continue to welcome these questions on any matters that matter, but I ask them to please maybe not read the words on the pages in front of them.
The Honourable Order. Members from time to time hear things they don't like in here, and that's probably going to continue. But I'd ask them to wait their turns, which come eventually, to speak and not to interrupt. The Honourable Member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Well, just keeping it back then, Tory Stafford never came home because Terry Lynn McClintock, who Tory thought was a friend, lured her to her. McClintock pled guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Right. The minister's defense of releasing this murder only after 6 years behind bars to spend the remains of her sentence in a healing lodge is unconscionable. The Prime Minister has the right and has the power to change this decision. Will he or won't he?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, words are important. The member opposite used the word released in her question. The fact is, the individual in question who committed this terrible crime was transferred in 2014 to a medium security facility and remains in a medium security facility today. Anything else that the member opposite is asking is fair game, but will they please stick to the facts in this terrible tragedy?
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Échemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, now, bad practices, I think this was a sordid crime. Now, it took the Prime Minister 2 weeks to deal with one thing. When will the Prime Minister put victims before criminals and reverse the decision? The Right Honourable the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Public Safety has asked that we ensure that all procedures and all legislation was followed in dealing with this criminal. We will continue to make sure that all rules are followed. We live under the rule of law. We have to acknowledge this. We have to make sure that victims get justice and that they are given the appropriate penalties and punishment according to our system.
Mr. Speaker, McClintock admitting to kidnapping 8-year-old Tory so she could be raped, tortured, murdered, and buried in a field. There isn't a more disgusting crime a person can commit. The Liberals are now defending her transfer from a prison in Ontario straight to the Okama Healing Lodge in my riding. This is a facility that doesn't even have a fence around it. It's not intended for child murderers. As a matter of fact, there are often children in the facility. The Prime Minister has the power to reverse this decision today. Will he do that?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to keep this as simple as I possibly can for everyone because there's a lot of rhetoric, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of politics in this question.
Sad.
The individual in question was transferred to a medium security facility in 2014 under the Conservative government. She is currently in what is classified as a medium security facility. The Conservatives are playing politics in an extremely troubling way.
The member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, Inova in London, Ontario provides full-service support for survivors of gender-based violence. The previous Minister for Status of Women held consultations to discuss a national strategy to address gender-based violence. This year, 71 people in Canada died at the hands of their intimate partners. Our criminal justice system has no legislation that specifically addresses intimate partner violence. This is outrageous. Inova has yet to hear back from the minister. Where is the plan? How long does it take? Lives depend on it.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I thank the member opposite for her question and for her advocacy on this extremely important issue. Canada will only reach its full potential when everyone has the opportunity to thrive, no matter who they are or where they come from. To achieve this, we need to work together to prevent gender-based violence. That's why we're investing nearly $200 million in the first ever federal strategy to prevent and address gender-based violence that will work to prevent gender-based violence, support survivors survivors and their families and promote a responsive legal and justice system.
The honourable member for Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, I recently met with the Alberta Council of Women's Shelters and was moved to hear about their struggles to provide safe refuge for all women and children fleeing abuse. The shelters are full, Mr. Speaker. The lack of affordable housing is making a terrible situation worse. These shelters are doing everything they can to keep women and children safe. No one should be forced to live on the street or risk their family's safety for a place to call home. Why is this government waiting to ensure all Canadians have a safe, affordable home? Thank you.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we agree with the member opposite. Women and girls facing violence need a safe place to turn. We are investing $40 billion in a national housing strategy which dedicates 25% of the funds to projects for women, girls, and their families fleeing violence. This means at least 7,000 spaces maintained or built for survivors of family violence, and the creation of 5 additional shelters in First Nations communities. We will continue to improve the lives of those in greatest need, grow the middle class, and make Canada an even better place to call home.
Honorable député de Châteauguay.
The honourable member for Châteauguay-Lacolle. Mr. Speaker, our government knows that a thriving and sustainable agriculture sector is made possible by public investments in science, research, and innovation. Can the Prime Minister update this House on our government's important investments in agricultural science?
Honorable Premier Ministre.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I'd like to thank the member for Châteauguay-Lacolle for her question. I'm proud to announce that the details of our recent fund, $70 million to invested to address environmental challenges and to hire new agricultural scientists. This investment allows us to hire the next generation of world-class scientists and will help our farmers to grow their businesses for the years to come. We will continue to support our researchers and our farmers.
Mr. Speaker, Barry Jackson is a Korean War veteran who lives in Georgian Bluffs. He fought bravely for our country and now at 87 years old is looking for support. Unfortunately, Veterans Affairs has been giving Barry the runaround. While an actual veteran fights for help, these Liberals are providing support to convicted murderer Chris Garnier, who has never served a day in his life, not one day. In 1951, Barry Jackson answered Canada's call. Will the Prime Minister today now answer his call and quit giving the resources that he earned to murder Chris Garnier?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I will take no lessons from the Conservatives on how they treated our veterans. They used them as props and photo ops. They shuttered the service centres that were there to help them, and they nickeled and dimed the veterans at every turn. Over the past 3 years, we invested $10 billion in our veterans. We've reopened the service centres that the Conservatives shuttered, and we're investing in mental health supports for veterans as well. We will continue to work hard to make sure that those who serve our country get the fullest support and recognition that they so justly deserve.
Honorable député de Mégantic-Clairable.
The honourable member for Mégantic-Clairable. Mr. Speaker, Christopher Garnier is a criminal, a killer who receives benefits from Veterans Affairs when he hasn't served a single minute in the Canadian Armed Forces. Since the Liberals took power, Mr. Speaker, compensating criminals has become habit. The Minister of Veterans Affairs failed miserably to do what is right and has lost the confidence of Canadians. The Prime Minister is responsible for the decisions made by his ministers. What is he waiting for to put an end to this situation and to do what must be done? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, all members in this House stand alongside the Campbell family in this situation. It is tragic, and the Minister has taken steps to change the policy so this type of incident does not recur. We will continue to be able to provide support to veterans and their families who need it while maintaining the integrity of the system.
Honourable Member for Yorkton Melville.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday this Prime Minister and every Liberal on that side of the floor rose to defend providing veterans services to a convicted cop killer. The Prime Minister knows in his heart that this is wrong, and it is an insult to our Canadian Forces members, veterans, and their families. He knows that. I taught my children, no matter how deep a hole they may dig themselves into, it is always all right to turn around and do the right thing. Will this Prime Minister finally show our troops the respect they deserve? Look into that camera. Don't act.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, every member in this House is grieving with Constable Campbell's family. This is a tragic situation, and the Minister has taken steps to address the policy to ensure that this does not occur moving forward. The Minister has increased the level of scrutiny, and the Department is addressing its existing policy in relation to treatment of family members under extenuating circumstances such as conviction of a serious crime. This ensures that we will continue to support veterans and their families who need our help while maintaining the integrity of our system.
Honourable Member for Brantford Brand.
Let me say what's shameful. It's shameful that it took 29 days for this minister and this Prime Minister to get back to this House, and it's shameful that every Liberal in this House stood yesterday to defend the benefits going to Chris Garnier, the convicted murderer, sitting in a penitentiary, absorbing veterans' benefits. Will the Prime Minister tell this House why he thinks convicted murderer Chris Garnier is entitled to benefits meant for veterans?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is obviously a tragic situation, and the Minister has taken steps to address the policy to ensure that this does not occur moving forward. This ensures that we will continue to support veterans and their families who need our help while maintaining the integrity of the system.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Mr. Speaker, the most recent Ombudsman report clearly shows that women veterans wait longer than men to have access to the financial assistance owed to them, on average 8 weeks longer. But as if that weren't insulting enough, we've now learned that Francophone women wait even longer than everyone. However, in the military, there aren't men, women, they are just soldiers. All soldiers wear the same uniform. Why, when it comes to services, are there differences because of gender and language? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I'd like to thank the member for her question, and I agree that it is a very problematic situation that we must address. We commit to looking at what we can do to restore a better balance, to ensure that all are treated fairly. It's unacceptable. I fully agree.
Okay.
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, it's 2018. Almost October 2018, and Canada continues to lag behind when it comes to pay equity, according to the OECD. For work of equal value, women earn less than men. And a lower income, well, that means less money in retirement. And if they lose their jobs, that means less employment insurance. Will the government table legislation as it promised between now and the end of 2018? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Yes, Mr. Speaker. We will be tabling it. We know that pay equity, employment equity means doing the right thing the right way. We are going to create economic growth while ensuring that everyone has an equal opportunity for success and receives what they deserve for the work they do. This is something that is very important to us, and that is why we will be taking action shortly on this bill. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, Trans Mountain is some $5 billion, and it's in suspense. Now, when the decision came down from the court, instead of appealing it, the government was happy with the delay once again. And this is hardly surprising, because this Prime Minister said that eliminating Alberta oil wasn't a problem. Now, this week, our leader presented a realistic and responsible plan to go ahead in a good way. What is the Prime Minister's plan to move forward on the Trans Mountain project? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. It's interesting, Mr. Speaker, but the plan as proposed by the Conservatives on Trans Mountain looks a lot like Stephen Harper's way of doing things. Contempt for the courts, the environment, contempt for consultations with Indigenous peoples. Mr. Speaker, when the Conservatives took power in 2006, 99% of Alberta oil was sold to the U.S. Today, 99% of it, after 10 years, is still being sold to the U.S. after their 10 years said they failed to diversify.
4 major pipelines were built under Conservatives, and Conservatives have a plan to rescue the Trans Mountain expansion. From day one, for nearly 2 years, the Prime Minister failed to act to get construction started. It's been 27 days since the court ruled he failed. All they've done is kick the can down the road for another 6 months, and he still has no plan for Indigenous consultation or to stop other legal threats. In April, he himself promised a law to build Trans Mountain, but he failed to deliver. So will he commit to retroactive emergency legislation today to get the Trans Mountain expansion built?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, here are the facts. When the Conservatives came into office in 2006, 99% of our oil exports went to the United States. After 10 years of inaction, still 99% of Alberta's oil was still sold to the United States because their approach to get to new markets failed. And they're doubling down on that approach with disregard for the courts, disregard for the environment, and disregard for the consultation on Indigenous peoples. That's not how to move forward in a responsible, concrete way on getting our resources.
Honourable Member for Lakeland.
But not a single shovel has been in the ground to start the Trans Mountain expansion. The court ruled Kinder Morgan consulted properly, and 43 Indigenous communities want the Trans Mountain expansion. Kinder Morgan only wanted certainty and clarity, not tax dollars, but this Prime Minister failed to deliver all of that. He gave $4.5 billion Canadian tax dollars to go build pipelines in the U.S. What's worse is he's bringing in the job-killing Anti-Pipeline Act C-69. It will stop all future private sector pipelines and kill Canadian resource development. Will the Prime Minister stop attacking the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of Canadians and kill the anti-pipeline bill C-69?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what the Conservatives continue to not understand is that their approach failed. You cannot get big projects built by marginalizing Indigenous peoples, completely disregarding environmental science and communities. We know that moving forward to provide clarity to proponents and investors while giving a path on consultations and environmental science is the way we will continue to get big things built in this country. Canadians expect us to build an economy and the environment to go together. That's exactly what we're doing on this side of the House.
The Honourable Member for Thérèse de Blainville. Mr. Speaker, families in Thérèse de Blainville and across the country got a pleasant surprise in the summer when they received the Canada Child Benefit and saw even more tax-free money in their pockets. The government indexed the Canada Child Benefit 2 years earlier than expected, so families have more money in their pockets now instead of 2020. Could the Prime Minister tell this House how the CCB continues to benefit Canadian families? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for Thérèse de Blainville for highlighting what an incredible impact the Canada Child Benefit has had. As children go back to school, we're hearing from families across Canada how important this benefit is. It means new clothes. It means warm meals, new books. We put an end to the Conservative practices of sending checks to millionaires. We are proud to invest in Canadian families because it means investing in our communities and in Canada's future.
For St. Albert, Edmonton.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday 9/11 widow Maureen Besnicki appeared before the Justice Committee where she criticized this government's $10.5 million payout to al-Qaeda terrorist Omar Khadr. Instead of showing respect towards Ms. Besnicki, the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Justice scolded her. This is beyond shameful. So, will the Prime Minister apologize for his parliamentary secretary's disrespect towards a 9/11 widow?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we recognize that Canadians are frustrated with the court settlement, the out-of-court settlement that was made. I agree. We should all be frustrated with that because no government going forward should ever think it's okay to violate the fundamental rights of anyone, regardless of how heinous their crime was. That is a principle that Canadians can understand, and hopefully governments today and of the future will heed this lesson carefully.
Member for Vancouver East.
As a mother, I want to know that my children are safe when I'm at work. Quality, accessible, and affordable childcare is a must for every working mom. Yet in 2018, this so-called feminist prime minister we still don't have a national childcare program. UBC's Dr. Paul Kershaw said work-life conflicts of parents raising young children costs Canadian businesses an estimated $4 billion. If we can dump $4.5 billion into a leaky pipeline, why can't we have a national affordable childcare program for all?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we agree on the need for childcare. That's why we're moving forward with a $7 billion investment in childcare right across the country. We recognize provincial jurisdiction in this area, but we also know that the federal government has a role to play, and that's one we are happy to play. But on top of that, we move forward with the Canada Child Benefit that is putting more money in the pockets of 9 out of 10 Canadian families and lifting hundreds of thousands of kids out of poverty. This is something we will continue to work on because we recognize how investing in children's future now makes life better for families and for communities.
Honourable Member for Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, the opioid crisis is a national public health crisis that is devastating individuals, families, and communities across this country. At the beginning of September, the governments of Canada and British Columbia signed a bilateral agreement for innovative treatment options for people with substance abuse or substance use disorders. Can the Prime Minister update this House on this important agreement?
Honourable Prime Minister.
I want to thank my colleague from Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam, for his tireless work in his community. Early this month, we announced a bilateral agreement between our government and the government of British Columbia. Our investment of $34 million is part of a $150 million for a cost-shared emergency treatment fund announced in Budget 2018. This funding has been designated to enhance or increase access to quality treatment services for substance use disorder, including specific initiatives for youth. We're working with the Government of British Columbia to reverse the trend of the national overdose epidemic.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Tory Stafford's father says that the decision to allow the transfer of Terry Lynn McClintock to a facility without offence is wrong. Today, the Prime Minister has had over a dozen opportunities to address this question, and he has not done so. This isn't about the bureaucrats that serve him or previous governments or the preambles and questions that he doesn't like. This is about his decisions and what he will do to correct wrongs. Once again, will the Prime Minister use the power that he has to right this wrong and reverse this decision?
Well said. Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, first, I would like to thank the New Democratic Party of Canada for choosing to make gender equity and gender opportunities the centre of their questions throughout this entire question period. I think it goes to the challenges we are all facing as a country in moving forward. Secondly, to the member opposite's question, the previous government transferred the individual to a medium security facility in 2014, and the individual in question is still in a medium security facility today.
The Honourable Member for Repentigny. The summer of 2018 marked the 5th anniversary of the Lake Megantic tragedy, where 47 people lost their lives. Since, rail transport hasn't gotten safer, Mr. Speaker. It's more dangerous. And it's because of the federal government, because it allows companies to self-regulate at the expense of public safety. This being Rail Safety Week, I would ask the Prime Minister, will he respect the will of the National Assembly and order a commission of inquiry on the circumstances surrounding the tragedy in Lake Megantic and the shortcomings in regulations for rail transportation? The Honourable Prime Minister. It is the 5th anniversary of this tragedy. The Minister of Transport, since the first day, guaranteed better rail safety. There's a great deal of work to do. We are working on it. No community, no family should ever suffer what we saw that terrible night in Lake Megantic.
I have the honour to inform the House that Mr. Holland, member for the electoral district of Ajax, has been appointed member of the Board of Internal Economy in place of Mr. Rodriguez, member for the electoral district of Honoré-Mercier, purposes and under the provisions of Section 50 of the Parliament of Canada Act. Tabling of documents. Order. I'd encourage members to take their conversations into the lobbies, and I'm confident I can count on members to assist me by saying shh. I thank colleagues. Tabling of documents, the Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order 32, Sub 2, I have the honour to table in both official languages a document entitled Legislative Background, an Act to amend the Divorce Act, the Family Orders and Agreements Enforcement Assistant Act, and the Garnishment, Attachment and Pension Diversion Act, and to make consequential amendments to another Act, Bill C-78.
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to subsection 7.2 of the Department of Natural Resources Act, I have the honor to table in both official languages the 2018 edition of the State of Canada's Forests.
Okay. Dépôt de projet de loi émanant du gouvernement.
Tabling of government bills.